Oh, hey everyone, welcome to another episode of First Canada Live. We're back. It is robot season. It is big robot season. That's right, for robotics competition season. There is so much going on. We got a lot of events to talk about. I'm your host, Karthik Kandigas of Apathy, and we have a fabulous show today. To get our started, though, as Canadians, it is important to recognize the land of which we are a part. As we gather for this meeting, physically dispersed and virtually constructed, let us take a moment to reflect on the meaning of place, and in doing so, recognize the various traditional lands on which we celebrate today. We acknowledge the elders and youth, past, present, and emerging, of all the land on which we work and live. We honor the ancestral spirits with gratitude and respect. We acknowledge this land out of respect for the indigenous nations who have cared for Turtle Island, also called North America. The indigenous people have been gifted the role of caretakers of this land before the arrival of settler peoples until today. But most importantly, we remember the history of these lands and people that have been tainted by poor treatment and a lack of friendship with First Nations who called Canada home before it was given this name. This is something that everyone is affected by. We are all treaty people in Canada. We all have a shared history to reflect on, and each of us is affected by this history in different ways. Our past defines our present, but if we move forward as friends and allies, it does not define our future. All right, folks, to get started, let's introduce our co-hosts today. We have two co-hosts. First, from Team 6135, it's Arctos. It's Leah. How's it going, Leah?
Hi, it's good. How are you? My name
I,
is Leah. I am the co-captain and drive coach of Arctos 6135, and I'm really excited to see everyone here.
Thanks, Leah. And we have from Team 7659, HNMCS Robotics, it's Jonah. Hi, Jonah.
Hi, I'm in grade 11, and I'm the communications lead of Team 7069. Yeah.
All right, folks. I know Leah, Jonah, you were both at the Centennial College event. We're going to be talking lots about it, but if you were to describe the event in one word, give it to me.
Ooh, I would say energy.
Energy. All right, what are you, Jonah?
Mm, amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean that was the vibes. That was just it was fantastic. And we have so much to talk about because we're going to be recapping all of the action at both the Centennial College and Newmarket Complex events. So folks, if you are joining us in chat and you have questions, drop them into chat. We'll get to them as soon as we can on air. And also folks, hey, remember we're here to have some fun and celebrate excellence in our community. So we had I believe it was 65 or 63 different robots competing this weekend, and they all did something amazing in their own way. And so we're going to be chatting about that sort of stuff. To get us started, though, it is important that we focus on taking care of ourselves, and that's why the Youth Council traditionally does a wellness moment here today. And so, Jonah and Leah, what do you have for us?
Since a lot of teams were at competitions last weekend, we prepared meditation. So meditation is a good way to relax and is known to reduce stress and anxiety, and it also helps you stay centered. So, Leah, you want to tell us our meditation techniques?
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, you got to get into a comfortable position and focus on your breathing. We can do this while walking or right when you wake up or washing while you're washing dishes, really anytime. There's a couple breathing methods. Jonah, do you want to elaborate on this?
Yeah, so there's 3-3-3 method and also the 4-7-8 method. So it's basically you breathe in for 3 seconds and then you hold it for 3 seconds and then you breathe out for 3 seconds.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. Like, even 1 minute of daily meditation is effective. And at competition, we've got quiet rooms available. And so, if you want to meditate there, feel free to do so.
And the deep breathing stuff is really important. And it's if if you do it daily for meditation, that's really good.
Mhm.
But where it can really come in handy is if you've practiced it well daily,
Mhm.
when you're in a really stressful situation, it can really be helpful to calm you down. It's something that I use where I sometimes when I'm just feeling really overwhelmed or like the emotions are just a little bit, when you really feel it in your stomach, it's like, how do I get rid of this feeling? I need it to go away. The deep breathing, you do 5 sets of 4-7-8, and whew, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, why was I even upset a moment ago? It is like one of the most important things to learn. It's invaluable in my life ever since I learned it. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's great. And yeah, the quiet rooms are a fabulous place to go to at events. Did you check it out? Either you checked them out at Centennial this week?
I actually did. It was really, really nice.
Was it nice in there? Good. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you had that opportunity. All right, folks. Next up is our news updates. We're going to try and go through this pretty quick because we know we want to get to the action. But number one is stay tuned for episodes of First Canada Live. After every set of events, we are going to be doing an event recap. Special notice for next week, though. Next week, we will not be here on Tuesday. We will actually be doing First Canada Live on Thursday. That's to allow the Humber event to happen, which will be happening on Tuesday and Wednesday. So that First Canada Live will be on the Thursday. After that, we're back to our Tuesday schedule, wrapping up our events week after week. So this Thursday, it's going to be Georgian, Durham, and Humber. Then the following Tuesday will be Waterloo and North Bay. And then the following Tuesday will be Windsor, Essex Great Lakes, and McMaster. And then finally the provincial championship. So it's going to be a fun run, folks. So make sure you tune in for all of those. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us on Spotify, hit follow, put us in your favorites, just add us to your happy mix with Taylor Swift. It'll all be good there. Scholarships, folks. There is still one more First Canada scholarship that is open for application right now. Leah, I know you're in grade 12. Did you apply for a bunch of scholarships this year?
Yes, for sure. There's a lot of universities that also offer scholarships, so it's really nice to apply to them.
Apply. And so this scholarship is the first Robotics Canada is very proud to present the 2024 Skilled Trades Scholarship. This scholarship is accepting applications from any First Canada student who is planning to pursue post-secondary education or an apprenticeship in a skilled trade. We're looking for folks who are interested in science, technology, strong leadership skills, wants to motivate positive change in the community, and has been part of a first robotics competition or first tech challenge team in either this season or the past season. So 2 scholarships, each $2,500, and the deadline for this is coming up soon, March 15th. So make sure you apply if you are eligible. You wouldn't want to miss that out. Other things, the Ontario team Slack is still there. If you were needing team support, you're looking for something, you're looking for, bumper fabric or how to tune your PID loop or anything like that, post in the Ontario team Slack. It's a great place to be. A link on how to join is going into chat right now. And of course, if you are a First Canada alum or about to become an alum, you're going to want to sign up for our alumni mailing list and join the First Canada alumni LinkedIn group. You can find out all the details at firstroboticscanada.org/alumni. All right, folks, I think that's the news updates for us. Leah, Jonah, any news? Anything you want to shout out right now? This is your chance.
I just want to say great job to everyone who competed at Centennial Newmarket. It was amazing.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking all about that when we come back after a word from one of our sponsors, Rockwell. All right, folks, we are back and we're going to welcome our guest for today's episode is First Canada alum from Team 188 Wolbert Robotics and the former drive coach of Teams 3683 Dave, 2015 Volunteer of the Year Award winner and First Canada Master of Ceremonies, Praneet Trivedi. How's it going, Praneet?
Hey, Karthik, Jonah, Leah, it's going well. Thank you for having me back on the show. I know I was just here last week and I'm excited
You
to
just
be
couldn't
back.
get enough, right? You just
Could
couldn't
not get enough. No, it's always a great time to be back here, discuss robots with people who love robots as much as I do. So, always a good time.
Is that a violin behind you?
No, that
Banjo?
is a ukulele.
Ukulele. Will you be playing that on the show today?
No, not today. Maybe some other time,
Oh,
actually.
come on. How can you disappoint? Look, Leah, don't you want him to play the ukulele?
I actually do play you.
It's actually a guitar. I just sit in a really, really large room, and that wall is really far away.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Or your head's really big.
Why not everything? All of the above. Yeah.
All right, folks. So it is week 2 of the competition season, week 1 of the season here in Ontario. And I want to ask each of you what impressed you most about this weekend's events.
I mean, I gotta say the robots, like seeing how much teams can build and how each year the teams upgrade their build. There's a lot of different types of designs going around, and it's really, really impressive to see how much each team has grown, but also the designs that people came up with. Like it's really creative, it's really unique, and it's really, really interesting.
Yeah. I think all of the teams did really amazing. And then we talked about it earlier, but Alliance 1 and 8 competing in the finals for Centennial.
Yes, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. I would say so. I watched every single match at the Centennial District event for Centennial College District event because I was there. And the one word I would use to describe that would be tenacity of teams. It started off very difficult for a lot of teams. They had a rough few matches on the practice day. There was, just a lot going on, a lot of rookies there as well. But everyone just rallied around, each other and just kind of put it all together. And it was just absolutely incredible to see the progression of not just the teams of the volunteers there, like people in the stands, everyone just, the energy was always rising. It's almost as if it's in the name of the game.
For me, and it's similar to what Leah said, but the quality of robots this early in the season, if you look at Newmarket, for example, I believe it was, I think it's something like 75% of the robots hung at least once. That was fantastic. There's events around the world where that number is like 25% of the teams who are doing that. So that's just an example right there. 56% of the robots who played this weekend were using a swerve drive. Last year in Ontario, that was about 25%. So that's like that number is skyrocketed, the preponderance of swerve so far. And so like teams are just on another level. I also was really impressed by how many teams were shooting. And I think a lot of that is owed to the kitbot. There was, I think of team 9262 at Centennial, Humberside, with their simple kitbot design. And, on day 0, they were panicking that they wouldn't be able to even compete or play at all. And then by the end of the event, they were like maybe the second fastest robot at the event, just blazing around the field and firing off these shots. And it was Kitbot was ensured that every team at least had the opportunity to compete. So I thought that was really neat. So we talked about what impressed us, no one's a psychic, and even people who've been around for years are always surprised by something at the first events of the season. So what surprised folks?
I mean, one thing I really want to talk about is the RPs. The ranking points they're really hard to get this season. I don't know if that's just my team, but like usually I think in the other seasons there'd be one of the RPs aside from the winning ones would
Yeah.
be fairly easy to get. Like, but this season both of them are really, really challenging.
I always come to the with stats, but some stats are easier to come by than others.
Mm.
And does anyone want to know how many teams were able to score in the trap at Centennial?
Oof.
It's an easy number. It's 0.
Oh,
0.
And at Newmarket, I believe it was 2. Now, first off, shout out to 4152. I would think it did it 9 times in qualifications, at least. So they were
Wow.
incredibly successful. And I believe 1305 maybe was the other one who hit one at some point or whatever. But the trap was so rare. And that ranking point requires 10 points on the stage. And so it would require all 3 robots to hang in a match, which is a challenge for sure. But then it still wouldn't be enough. So you'd either need a spotlit microphone, or you would need a harmony climb. And I know Leah, your alliance was picking up those harmony climbs, which is pretty cool right there. But you need to do a lot to get that ranking point. And so realistically, and it was only coming up usually when there was a tech foul, a G424.
Mhm.
That was the only real way it was popping up for the most part, aside from that one time where there was the double spotlit harmony climb. I think, Leah, that might have been your alliance. Was that
That
your
was my
alliance?
alliance.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
like, no big deal,
Yeah.
But yeah,
They worked really hard.
that ranking point was hard to come by. And then the 18 notes or 15 notes would
It's
come
so
up for the
hard.
melody, was still, and that one, like, shooting is hard, like as much as like there's a kit bot and stuff. I think, I think that one will be very common by the time we get to the district championship.
Oh,
But
yeah, for sure.
early in the season, like if we think back to older games, a lot of these ranking points, like in 2017, the ranking point for getting 4 rotors, which meant 10 game pieces cycled, right? Pretty, was it 10 or 12? 12 game pieces cycled for the
12 game
Alliance.
pieces, yeah.
So just 12 didn't happen in Ontario until the 4th week of the season. And so this game requires 18, and so it was happening here and there. And then, over at Newmarket, it happened a lot more. That helps when you have the second best team in the world, according to EPA. We'll get to that in a little bit. Shout out
Yeah.
to our friends at Stony Creek. But yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Jonah? What surprised you this weekend?
Well, I was in the pit most of the time, so I couldn't see much of the match, but I can hear the cheers really in the pit, and also the mascots, and they were dancing together.
Yeah. Mascots are always a good time. We, it's a blast. Pretty surprises.
Surprises for me would be the evolution of strategy as the weekend went along. At both events, there was a good mix of teams kind of debating whether they wanted to play defense on some high scoring robots or if they wanted to go all out cycle. And that was kind of fun to see. Also, just as a volunteer, a field side volunteer, sight lines are very difficult, even though they made most of this field out of clear Lexan. It's very difficult to see cross and around. I think it is a testament to the drive teams, honestly, to be able to maneuver around the field. So Leah, well done coaching your team, acquire those game pieces and scoring them.
It's not visible from the driver's station.
Yeah, honestly, if you're in the middle driver station, good luck. Whether you're trying to just pick up a note or anything, it's
so this is worth talking about, because so often I think when you're watching from the stands or watching in the webcast, you'll be like, "There's a note right in front of them by the wall there. Why are they going all the way back down the field?" You can't see that note when you're in the driver's station, like unless you're like gonna lean forward and look down. You are not going to see that note, and so. There are some teams who do use cameras on the front of their robot to help them,
vision is so helpful.
to just like even like a dash cam, so you can kind of see what's around or whatever. But yeah, like and honestly, if teams can master them, like the key to any FRC game is cutting down your cycle times. And you do that by not having to go full field all the time. And so knowing the ones that were there. And when we get to Centennial, we'll talk about 77-12. But I thought one of the things that they were so effective of was, because teams were still missing a lot of shots at Centennial, but 77-12 would stay close and get them and pick up the misses or even pick up their own misses. And that's really what helped propel them to the upsets that they had along the way.
Absolutely, yeah. Just playing their own cleanup is incredible. And when no one's looking, they'll just steal some from the source, the opponent's source. Is incredible.
Yeah, and I think that was another thing that 2056 was super effective at. That's like there's a game piece nearby that they're gonna jump on it or whatever, and that allowed them to be the second fastest cycler in the world or whatever. And we'll talk about their short cycles in a bit. How do folks think the game will change over the next few weeks? I think we talked about some of that, but let's play it back there. So Leah, do you think that when we get to the provincial championship, what's going to be different about this game?
I think we'll have a lot more harmonies because by that time practice is going to be helpful. Like teams will be practicing, but also melody. I hope that becomes more and more common and hopefully easier to achieve as, again, practice comes and drive team gets a hang of their robot, and like alignment and also maybe upgrade in vision could help with that.
Jonah?
I agree with Leah. There's definitely going to be more harmony. We're definitely seeing a lot of improved robots.
And Praneeth.
Yeah, I mean, Leah and Jonah covered most of the points, I would say, in terms of just like driver practice pays off. I want to allude to the point you made earlier about the 2017 game and how difficult it was to get the 12 gears, to get the 4 rotor cycles and the RP. So the game this year does allow for that number to go down from 18, which seems almost insurmountable, bring it down to 15 if you do a short cycle. So I suspect teams are teams who recognize that as a potential limiting factor for their alliance might try to maybe stash the their note in auto into the amp, maybe, so they can get a head start potentially. So I might see that sort of a pivot. That does mean it's, a slight disadvantage to them in autonomous points, but I think we might see some strategies that way. I can't wait to see teams figure out lanes for driving as they get more driver practice in. Leah, I see Leah nodding a lot. I was like, yeah, just stay out of each other's way, just figure out alternate cycling. And honestly, I'm just excited to see how people find a way to play the game better themselves. Like, we can only speculate at this moment. We've seen 2 weeks of competition. There's been over like 3,000 matches played already or something absurd like that. And we still don't know where it's going to go.
For me, where I think the game is going to change is the amplification periods. I think a lot of teams are probably going to watch the videos of Makeshift in 2056 to see how they were really utilizing the amplification periods properly. And then I think that at Centennial, 1325 and 7558 got really good at it throughout the playoffs. And it was like one of those things that they got better at, where you get so there were some teams, it's like as soon as they get the second note in the amp, they would hit the amplify button. That is not what you should do. You need to wait. And then some teams would wait till their robot was right there, and they'd wait for their robot to shoot, and then they'd hit it. Nope, wrong answer again. You wait till the shot goes in, then you hit it. And some teams in California have even been waiting 1 or 2 seconds after the shot goes in, where they have their human player look to see where it is in the counter, and then hit it right before it goes through the counter to maximize the amount of time that you have with it. Because you want it so it counts right when it goes there, and you want to take advantage of the full 13 seconds. Also, remember, you're only allowed 4 amplified notes in one given cycle. So that means what you really need is 2 robots to shoot right away and then get another cycle, or 3 robots that are queued up, they shoot, and then only one has to get another cycle. But utilizing that, and when we took a look at 2056 and 4039, and we take a look at 1325 and 7558, we'll see like, oh, this is how we're going to do it. Because those 5-point shots, those are what it comes down to. And we saw that the scores really flip, where a team was behind, and all of a sudden, amplifies, like you see it light up, and then boom, 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 3 shots go in, and suddenly 15 points, and that's a massive difference in this game. Sometimes we spend so much time talking about the robots, we kind of lose track of what this competition is about and what First is about. And that's the gracious professionalism. So I was hoping that each of you could tell me at least one moment of gracious professionalism you witnessed this weekend.
I mean, I have to say all of the teamwork. I mean, like every time you form a new alliance, just before the match, the strategizing time, everyone's listening to each other's ideas and everyone is contributing in some way. And I think the way that everyone was being so respectful to each other, one another, at least during my drive team meetings, I saw everyone who was there like be really, really nice about it, and looking at strengths and like how we can cover up for each other. And so it really warmed my heart to see that.
What do you think, Pretty?
I saw, I think the team you mentioned earlier, 9262, the Humberside Huskies. They on load-in night, on Friday night, they were a little flustered because one of their climber motors was broken, and they needed to, take off a pressed pinion or something like that to replace it. They approached you, Karthik, and then you kind of rallied a group of people to see if we could figure something out. The next morning, we were at the what's the word I'm looking for? The machine shop area in the pits, and then we had help from teams like 2852 stepped up. Their drive coach and one of their other mentors or former students now mentoring a different team. They were all there. They're like, "Hey, what's going on?" Helped us kind of deal with that. And then 7558, who was in the pits adjacent to them, was keeping an eye on them throughout the event, making sure that they got everything they needed to. A team's been taken care of when they have time during the event to add LEDs. That's how good it was.
that's a great story there for you. What about you, Jonah?
Well, in the pits, I saw teams lending equipments to each other. And during the awards, I saw Team 188. They were standing up for every team, which was very nice of them.
Yeah, I saw two things that really struck me. One was Team 2852, Praneet mentioned them earlier, but initially there was no one scheduled to work the machine shop. And so teams were kind of lining up and they wanted to, get parts made, but there was no one there. And so I went around the pits just to see if, hey, does anyone have any mentors that they can spare? You have to be an adult who has their certifications to do the machine shops. There's not a huge amount of them. And those types of people are usually in demand by their teams, to work in the pit and to guide and something. And 2852 was like, oh, we got two mentors here who are willing to do this. And they spent the whole weekend in the machine shop, making sure that everyone's robot was working. And so that was really cool. And then I was just and we'll talk about this team when we get to the Centennial College recap. Team 7712 Umoja. They just were cheering for everyone in the stands. And if they were sometimes in qualifications would be paired with an alliance partner who might not have had many people there, and they were just going wild. Like there's some teams when you announce there's not much noise because they only have a few people. Well, 7712 was cheering for all of them, and just bringing the noise and just that kind of like everyone coming together piece is what I love about First. All right, folks, we've teased it out enough. We're going to start talking about our first event. It's a Centennial College event in just a moment. But before we do that, let's take a look at a word from one of our sponsors, 3M.
So First Robotics Competition is the epitome of the robotics competitions here in Canada. It's an opportunity for high school students to get involved in the engineering design of an entire robotics system.
People think robotics is all about building the robot, right? But building the robot is only half the challenge. Building the robot is actually a vehicle for you to build your own self.
For our Canadian manufacturers to stay competitive, there's a lot of automation and robotics that have to go into our manufacturing facilities. So the skills that the kids are learning in this competition hit that mark spot on.
There's definitely the technical ones. I've learned how to do CAD design. I've learned how to work machines. But one of the really, really big ones that I really like is and I think it's really important in this world, is I've learned how to work with a team. Without being able to work as a team going into industry, it's not going to work out.
There are absolutely skills that the students are using today that are things that we use in professional careers that have to do with STEM. They are learning how to communicate. They're learning how to collaborate. They're learning how to think outside the box so that they're not limiting themselves to one thing. They're getting to do coding, marketing, design, engineering, science, the whole 9 yards all together.
It really teaches you all these different skills that you wouldn't think that you would know. It teaches you, how to work with other people, how to do soft skills, communication, teamwork, leadership, all that kind of stuff.
Some of our alumni have gone on to receive excellent scholarships at top-tier universities, and because of that, they've started getting known well by top-tier companies, which allows our brand to carry on as they work for large technological companies in the programming sector, in the automation sector. It's really interesting to see where we end up.
All right, thank you 3M for all your support. All right, folks, we're here. We're at the Centennial College event. Praneet, where are we?
Scarborough.
That's right. We were at the Scarborough for the first ever event. We had things happen that have never happened before. We had a master of ceremonies introduce a match while eating a Jamaican patty and getting crumbs on the field. We had great things happening. But hey, we had the underdog story of the year there. And I said this while I was emceeing. Scarborough is, sometimes referred to as the city of underdogs. According to some people, it's the city of losers. And we've heard those comments about, oh, it's so scary. Oh, it's so safe. I would never want to raise my kids in Scarborough. And we've heard those things over the years, kind of in Praneet and I are kids who grew up in Scarborough. I think we turned out all right.
Right.
But to have this event there and then, to show what Scarborough's actually about, where we have 29 robotics teams on the weekend, just having a blast, and the gracious professionalism, at the end, one of the team, from Scarborough Team 188 helped pack up the field and do all these things. And it's just, that there's good people everywhere, and it can be from Scarborough, it could be from downtown, it could be from Oakville, it could be from North Bay, it could be from Tuktoyaktuk, but we shouldn't be judging cities like that. But the underdog story that was coming out of this event was the number 8 Alliance. And in the past, their teams sometimes would cry when they were picked by the number 8 Alliance captain, because it's like, oh, well, we're done. We have to play number 1, 2 matches right away. We're going to be done. But the new double elimination format that came in last year means, wait a second, you might lose once to the number 1 Alliance, but then you have to get to play other teams and work your way back to the top. And all these years where we've seen these number 8 alliances go out early, they might have been the second best alliance. We don't actually know. The old format just meant that they had to suddenly play 20, 56, and 12, 41, 2 matches in a row. Congratulations. Like, good luck to that, And so, you're in California, like, here's your prize. You played 254 and 1678, like, ta-da. But now you have the chance. And so this alliance, captained by 7603, with 7902, the Market Fibers, and 7712 Umoja, they lost their first match to a great number 1 alliance of 7558, 1325, and 5834. Not taking anything away from them. They were fantastic, and we'll see them in the video in just a second. So they went to the lower bracket, and then they took out Alliance 5. I think was that your alliance, Leah? Yeah. And then they took out Alliance 3. And then they took out Alliance. It was just 2. They just kept winning and moved their way through. And every time it was just, simple sort of things, all 3 robots firing a shot and autonomous, picking them up. It was just this great story. And then on the other side of the bracket, you had the favorites, who were favorites because they were awesome. 7558, just so fast. I might make the claim that they might have the best human player in all of first, which some people would probably be like, what are you talking about? That, that they would probably say something derisive like, that girl is 4'10" or whatever. But like, holy cow, she was fantastic, right, Leah?
Very good, very good. Impressive.
Yeah, and
the shots.
And then 1325, just as usual, just with a robot that is just so well engineered, so well thought out, firing those high velocity shots. And they move through the upper half of the bracket, with some sort of ease. And then we get to the finals. And then we have a rematch of what we had in the first match, which was just fantastic. So that's kind of like an overview of how we got to the finals. And we're going to look at final match 2 in a second. So Alliance won finals match 1. So we're coming into finals match 2. But does anyone else have to say anything about the journey that the alliances took, or maybe shout out to some of the other alliances?
I just want to mention, sorry, 1534. I mean, their defense, it was scary. It was great. Even when I played them, it was amazing. But you see, you guys will see very, very shortly how good their defense is. How their driver, amazing.
But I mean, I think also it goes to show the power of swerve defense. That a swerve drive, tank drives can still do a lot, but swerve drives can be, because they can go in any direction, and they can really make life miserable for folks right at the subwoofer, where they can do that circle strafe where they kind of just cover the whole sort of thing. I also think 5834's story is worth talking about. This is a team that almost didn't exist this season. They came so close because they didn't have shop access. And then actually there were many teams, but one of the teams that stepped up to help them was none other than 7558, a team who has helped so many teams this year across the province. So there was that real connection there on this alliance. So let's take a look at this video from finals match 2 at Centennial, featuring team 7558, 1325, 5834 in red, and 7603, 7902, and 7712 in blue. And as we're getting that video up on the screen, it's it was kind of like, okay, can the upsets keep happening for the 7603 alliance? So let's take a look. Let me get my handy drawing pen out here just in case I need it, and let's go. And so we're playing this without sound, folks, so we can chat over it. But watch the Red Alliance in autonomous mode. So, 7558 goes straight to the center line. 1325 goes straight to the center line. And Heather, if you could pause it right here for a second. So the importance of the center line notes. It's really neat. You're thinking, like, why did 1325 and 7558 both go for centerline notes that quickly when they know there's not going to be a huge race for them? It's to get a head start into teleop, because these notes over here are kind of protected. They're harder to be poached, but these notes at the center line, you want to get them before the other alliance does. And so if you know that you're going to make those other, as long as you're scoring notes in auto, it's okay. So why not go for those notes early? So that was a good start right there. So let me just clear my screen and let's resume. And so auto keeps going here and red takes a quick lead, but now, I want to keep an eye on the 7712 robot as they just kind of, stay in this zone right here. And that's their scoring spot. That's where they're just going to keep going back to. 7902 was doing a great job amping for the Blue Alliance, while 7712 was scoring and 7603 was playing defense. What are you seeing from the Red Alliance?
What I'm seeing from the Red Alliance is the human player communicating with the drive team. So if you actually pull it back a little bit, when they're putting the first amp cycle in, you'll see that she raises up her left arm, and then she's just giving them a count of how many notes are already in the amplified or in the amplifier. It might be, a drive team might miss a small light or whatever. So she continues to do that. And then when the amp is, it's actually amplified, she crosses her arms.
I'm going to cut you off for 1 second, Pretty. Can we pause here for a second?
Yeah.
I'm just noticing, as Leah pointed out, 5834 is just parking themselves in this spot right here and keeping two Blue Alliance robots from getting downfield. And so right now, 7902 and 7712, which are the scoring power for the Blue Alliance, have spent about 20 seconds stuck in the zone. And that's why the score gap is where it is right here, where we see if, in those 20 seconds, if they had gotten, 3 cycles in between the two of them, that could make this, 34. And then suddenly this match is way closer. But that defense right there, just patrolling this line between the stage and the border, right where you need to go to access your notes, is incredibly powerful. So let me clear my screen and let's go back at it.
Yeah, and the other thing to add on to that is the Red Alliance actually recognized that 2 of the drive trains were actually tank drive, so they adapted their defense positions, because you're either forcing them to go through the defense, which is really hard, or you're forcing them to go under the stage, the opponent's stage at that, which is kind of dangerous sometimes. You might pick up a foul if the red team is taking a protected shot from the podium. You might get entangled. So it's just about those slight additions that you're adding to the cycle time and making it that much more efficient for yourself.
Can we pause here for a second? So look at the field right now. There's not a single note on the field. So teams are being smart, because if you leave note over here at the loader, because you just keep dropping them early, suddenly those just get poached by the Alliance and they can make super short cycles. So the teams were playing it really smart, because there were some qualification matches. It would be 10 notes at the loader. So the other team can't even get to the loader anymore. And they're there for the opposing Alliance. So
that's the advantage of ground intake, over source intake. If you don't align, and you can still intake it if it's ground, but when it's source, it's a lot harder. But a lot of teams have upgraded their robot to actually have ground intake. So
it is hard to get by without one this year. You can, but the key is you got to be able to make sure it goes from the source right into your robot every time, because if you drop a couple while loading, those are just there for your opponent, because you're going to drive away to go score it, and then boom, they're going to pop them away.
Yep.
So let's keep going here. And so we got one blue robot, and this is when I believe 7603 got stuck on the truss right here. So that kind of unfortunately ended it for the Blue Alliance. They weren't gonna, it was gonna be hard enough to take this 3v3, but 2v3, it's a little bit tough right there.
I believe 7902 is lining up for their climb, and
Yep.
what I like is like they're positioned in a way that
Making
now
room for 7712 to
7712
try for the harmony because they need every
Always.
single point they can get. Yeah, that's a great call, Leah. And
Uh,
they go up, and it
double
was
climb.
close. It was close considering that this was a 3v2 for a good portion of the match. But let's stop this and jump ahead to the final score. And as we're waiting for the final score, it's yeah, this was tough, and there it is. Red Alliance takes it 60-40. So it was a really, and there was a 5-point penalty right here. So if you take that away, it's more like 55-40. And if you maybe have the robots running the whole time, so maybe that gets a little bit closer. And maybe if they slip through the defense by 58-34, like the 8 Alliance was right there.
Absolutely.
Despite the, Red Alliance putting up a lot of shots in the speaker, they were doing really well. Like, this is a powerful alliance. Like, if we see 75-58 and 13-25 together again this season at the provincial championship, maybe that's an alliance that could be provincial champions. There's no doubt that combo, right, Praneet?
Absolutely. And you saw that how they improved the robot, not just through the weekend, but even just through the playoffs. It was always doing one little bit more. But I want to draw the attention back to the 8th Alliance, actually. If you pull up the score for match 1 that they played against the number 1 alliance.
But just tell us what it is, Praneet. We're not going to be
It was 75-29. No, I was just referring to it. It was 75 in favor of red and 29 for blue. Both teams had tech fouls. So it was like 65-19 clean points, essentially. And look at how far the blue alliance, in this case, the 8th alliance, came. They went from scoring 19 points 3v3 to 40 points in a 2v3, which is just incredible.
Well, if you think about it, it was a 46-point differential the first time around.
Yep.
And they dropped it down to a 20-point differential by the third time around.
Oh, absolutely. That's absolutely massive gains. And that too being a robot down for most of it. So
it's very impressive stuff. So while we got a moment here, let's take a look at some of the stats from the event. All right, so here we go, folks. On the bottom axis, so this is all using StatBotics EPA, expected points added, which is similar to OPR but different. I prefer OPR, but it's StatBotics. I can get instant graphs, so we can do this sort of thing. And so we see, let me get my pen. So on the bottom here is teleop points produced by a team, and the right is endgame and auto. The other axis is the other axis. Come on, Karthik. The y-axis is endgame and auto. So look, 75, 58, 13, 25 were the 2 best robots at the event by far. Clear cut. Our number 8 alliance was 7902, who's right here, 7603, who's right here, and 7712. So like upper tier 3 robots, but that they were able to keep it close with these 2 is fantastic. And that's strategy. That's strategy. And they were able to beat, some of these big combos right here. So like 40, 69, and this was Alliance 2. Yeah. Alliance 8 took that out. 75, 20, and 188. They took that out. It was like, like this was great strategy by the 8 Alliance here, playing some really good teams. So I'll clear my screen and let's take a look at the next stat slide. So here are the 8 playoff alliances and then the total accrued EPA for all of them. So we see like Alliance 1 was like well above 50. So if anything's in light green, that means it's 75th to 90th percentile in the world. So 75-58 was a top 10 percentile in the world or whatever. And so, but 50, but then look at these numbers here. They're all relatively close. My drawing sucks. Sorry, I'm scribbling over top of things there. But you see that. So the Alliance 8 had a 32. They were, well matched with all these alliances, and the strategy just took them above. So really cool to see, but also remembering how good the number 1 alliance was and how great the number 8 alliances played. But then Leah, your alliance right here with 35 EPA. That's some of that is just good scouting by 2198 to pull that together. And then also it showed by the couple upsets that you pulled.
Yeah, I think during playoffs, like our robot also, compared to qualifications, it just we became a lot more consistent with the communications. And so I think all of it kind of ends up on strategy and how you use strategy to work as an alliance.
I'll throw one last thing out there. Shout out to the number 6 alliance right here. Again, numbers like, because we spent so much time talking about the number 8 alliance, but the number 6 alliance had a good run too, as an underdog. Again, the Scarborough alliance right there. We got Central Scarborough, we got the Guild, we got Malvern. Just a very solid, like all 3 robots, very similar in terms of capabilities there, and they pulled some upsets too. So it was an event chock full of upsets. But when you look at the numbers, you see how close these alliances were. So, we call them an upset because of the traditional seed number, but it's not as big of an upset, and it kind of goes to show sometimes we put labels on teams that maybe aren't truly there. As the great Michael Jordan said, limits do exist, but they are often an illusion. So just some food for thought. All right, so that's enough of the stats here. We want to recognize some other teams here. So at the Centennial College event, our winners were Team 7558 Alt F4, 1325 Inverse Paradox, and 5834 R3P2. Finalists, Team 7603 Vespa Robotics, 7902 Markham Firebirds, and 7712 ACCN Numoja. Dean's List winners was Gabriel A from Team 5032, I believe. That's right. Yeah, 5032. I had it wrong in my notes, but I remembered it up here. And Hannah L from 5834. So that's really cool. Engineering Inspiration went to someone we might know. Congratulations, Sally, to HNMCS Robotics. That's 2 years in a row you've won Engineering Inspiration, correct? Very big accomplishment there. And then the Impact Award to Team 7712 ACCN Umoja, becoming the highest number team in Ontario history to win the Impact Award. And that video and just the work that they've done in their communities, celebrating Black History Month, helping the elderly use technology, supporting first teams. It was fantastic to see. Any final words on Centennial before we jump, we hop on the 404 and go up to Newmarket?
Scarborough's finest showed up, and I hope we keep having this event in the future right there.
It was great. It was, so many teams were local. The stands were packed the whole time. It was so crowded. Everyone was there. Hey, I also want to give a shout out to you, Praneet. You came there and you were supposed to be one of the MCs and game announcers. A job that I know you love, and we were the event was short on refs, and you stepped up as a referee. So
Well,
just wanted, just another example. And there was so many Praneet's here on the call, so thank you, Praneet. But there were so many volunteers who stepped into multiple roles or helping in different ways. Shout out to our pit admin sign-in. Shout out to FTA Alex Wilcox, who was doing so many different things. Mickey and Jamie are FTAs. Just shout out to that whole the group of volunteers, and then I believe 60 of the volunteers who were brand new to FIRST. Shout out to them for coming out, and we hope we have them at many, many more events as we go. Chat saying Alliance 6 mentioned Scarborough Alliance. Rah, yeah, that's a Scarborough comment.
That's
right there.
right.
Scarborough man's right there, Paraba. All right, folks, we're going to be back. We're going to hop on the Go bus. Forget it. We're taking public transit. Better for the environment. We're hopping on the Go bus. We're heading to Newmarket. We'll see you in a couple seconds. All right, folks, we're in Newmarket. It is great to be. We're at the Ray Twinney complex here. It is a great event. And, before we even get started, let's look at the stats. Folks, let's just break our brains for a moment here and look at the stats. Every year I make these stat slides, and then I have to scale things differently because, folks, here they are. Do you know what's here? Can someone tell me what's in this circle?
Nobody.
Nothing. Because no one is around them. Again, Team 2056 OP Robotics, second ranked team in the world according to StatBotics. Which I guess maybe is disappointing for them because last year they were number 1 at this time. But just a fantastic performance. But you'll see this when we get to the next slide. You might be thinking, oh, these teams over here, they're really far off. They are far off. But it goes to show just how good 2056 was. Also 4039, they are top 10 in the world right now, according to, was it top 10 pretty? Was that right?
That is correct.
Yeah, I think that was
Correct.
in our group chat last night.
Yeah.
But look at the gap between them and 2056. So let's jump to our next slide as I clear my screen. Look at these numbers. 2056's EPA is 49. Does anyone remember what the EPA of the entire #1 alliance was from Centennial?
50 points.
So, and so remember what I said about the shading. Dark green means top 10% in the world. So OP and Dave top 1%, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other teams are top 10% of the world right now at this event. Oh, wait, I missed one. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't count those because that's a line score. That's a line score. So six right there. And then talking about top 25 percentile, like teams that, people were talking about as struggled, like, I mean, you and I had enough conversations about 11-14 where it was like, this isn't necessarily up to par for them. They're still top 25% in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just goes to show, checks notes, 2056, still good.
Yeah.
Still amazing.
In the pre-show, I think you were saying something along the lines about like how stacked McMaster is. It's like Newmarket is like, this is just
Newmarket was insane too.
It's just a preview to that event. Because I don't want to talk about future events yet because I want to finish discussion for Newmarket, but man.
But look at these numbers for alliances 2 through 7. They're all 49 and above.
It's
so that's
unreal.
similar to the #1 alliance at Centennial. And like we saw how good the #1 alliance at Centennial was. Like we know how good they were. And so that's what every alliance was at Newmarket. And so this one, our boy Connor Bosey was emceeing this one and with Matthew Hart, and they just had a blast talking about these high-powered teams. And I wish we could show you every match. We can't, but just a shout out to these powerful teams. And like if Ontario has this many strong teams in week 2, I know we don't want to talk about future events, but what is the provincial championship going to look like? What is it going to look like, folks? When we get to playoffs and we get into the double elimination and we get into like the 4th place match and the 3rd place match, like what is it going to look like? So as I bring back my notes here, we're going to take a look at final number 5, featuring team 2056. Actually, before we get there, teams. So it's featuring 2056 and 4039 on alliance together, which I believe is the first time that these two have been paired together. Praneet, correct me if I'm wrong.
In playoffs, yep.
In playoffs, yeah. Interesting story going back to 2012, where 4039 was when they were a rookie team, they were mentored by 2056, and so those two teams have a long history of working together in the community and doing things together, but have never actually ended up on the same alliance. And so they're paired with team 6854. And then on the blue alliance, we have team 610, who has played 2056 many times over the years. They were one of the teams that ended 2056's streak in 2016. They've accrued a numerous amount of silver medals against 2056. They also won the provincial championship with 2056 in 2017. 4152, who won the provincial championship with 2056 in 2022. And 865, who just always is there because they're just one of those smart strategic teams, and it's like, if you're doing alliance selection and you're looking for a second round robot and 865 is available, pick them. Just pick them because they're smart. They always figure it out. Leah, I think you have some friends on that team, and they're just like, I swear they just obsess over strategy all the time, right?
They're all really smart. Every single one of them.
I was at their first Lego Week challenge event in the fall, and I chatted with like 6 of them. They were just asking question after question after question. They just wanted to learn everything. And I'm like, oh, I love this team. This is fabulous. All right, so let's take a look at this video. Hope we can get through this before my headphones die because I just got the low battery alert. Let's see. All right, and before we start this video, I'm going to say, folks, and sometimes people are like, why do you always talk about 2056? Why do you always talk about 2056? because they're really good, folks. And we should be proud that in Ontario, we have one of the best teams in the world, that we've had one of the best teams in the world for a long, long time. We've had a couple of the best teams in the world and handfuls or whatever, but 2056 is spectacular. So let's watch their autonomous mode carefully here. So let's start this match in 3, 2, 1, crescendo.
Always an MC, Karthik. Let's go.
Hey, gotta.
Now you have to wait for now you gotta wait for Connor to say the same in the video.
Yeah. There we go. All right. One note. They shoot it while they're moving backwards. And they've got the second note and they fire it away. And the third note.
We should
but
pause
someone
right
got
there.
to their fourth note. So pause right here. Pause right here. What did you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted to draw
sorry,
attention to. I wanted to draw attention to that center line. Talking about a really smart team that you were just talking about, 865, and see what they were up to.
So let's talk about what 865 did that was smart here. 10. What did they do that was smart here? They didn't try and race 2056 for the first note because they knew they weren't going to win that. But they said, hey, let's go to their third note, their third center line note, because we know we can get there. And if we block them, it's going to throw off the rest of their auto mode. And so that was fabulous by 865. Auto ends with a 20-point lead right here, but it could have been, you could have added 10 more points to that. It could have been 46-16. So these are the things you have to do. Now, folks, I want you to watch Picasso in motion here. This is 2056's cycling. And just watch him go back up and forth down the field. All right, let's start this. Okay, so 2056, they pick up a close note. They're going to clear the close ones early, and they shoot. Watch this. So they get to a shooting spot. But I want to see them. They go down the field, and the note is right there, and they got it already. And let's pause it right here. Look where the shooting. Sorry, can we go back a bit? Okay, and pause right here. Yeah, so right here, 2056, where they're shooting from. Look at the range on the shooter. And a lot of people are like, oh, you don't need to shoot from that far. But 2056 being able to shoot from that spot allows their cycle to be from here to here, as opposed to all the way up front. And that distance matters. And it gives them a huge luxury. So
yeah, and that would have, if they had to shoot from the subwoofer in this case, they would have probably not gotten the second amp cycle in this case.
Exactly, because so good, Praneet. There's only 4 seconds left in this amp period. So that's why you want to get it in fast. You want to maximize the amount of shots that you're taking for 5 points. Because every amp cycle is like a shot in auto. It's like you've gone back to auto, except you get to drive your robot in auto. What an advantage that is. Think of it that way. You are Marty McFly in the DeLorean, or if you want to go more modern, you're Doctor Strange with the Time Stone, and you've taken it back to auto, except you're doing things with teleop skills. So that is like having 2 Infinity Stones, essentially. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's where we go. Leah, Jonah, are you Marvel fans, or am I just the only one here? Sorry.
I haven't watched it, but
Oh my goodness.
really, no, I know what you're saying.
Okay, all right.
Okay, there's some context, so we're okay.
Oh, wait, hold on one second. Hold on. I'm gonna get distracted right here. Like, does Gen Z not watch Marvel movies? Is this a thing?
I think it's just a Leo thing.
Okay. Jonah, what about you?
I only watch Marvel up to like the end of the Infinity Stone parts.
Oh, I think there's a lot of people who stopped at the Infinity Stone part because
That's
if you
fair.
look at the box office draw, I don't think a
Yeah.
lot of people. I don't think a lot of people were showing up for. I don't want to
Doctor Strange is-
call any movies out or whatever, because I like them all, but yeah.
Oh yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, let's go back. I could talk Marvel forever, so let's go back here. All right, let's take a look at the match. So the cycle goes. But now keep an eye on Makeshift 4039. So they're doing the little bit longer of a cycle.
Did you
But they're
guys
just-
see 6854's defense? They have a
Uh,
note caught in.
Oh yeah, 6854 has created a mess for 610 back there.
I love it.
That's right.
And
It's the advantage of the swerve defense right in front of the subwoofer.
and it's
Not
interesting though.
swerve, I think they have a net that's like really, really tall so that they deflect notes that are being shot, which is
And 610
Oof.
is a difficult robot to block because 610's
Yeah.
shooter can get high. That was a really, really smart design on their part.
Mhm.
But again, this cycling by 4039 and 2056, man, this is Einstein level cycling right now.
Oh yeah.
As 2056 goes to the amp, they get ready for the amp. Their human player is watching what's happening here.
They're waiting. Shot 1 missed, shot 2 went in, and they call it anyways. So then Makeshift just cleans right up, and then they
Yeah.
get a second amp cycle. Beautiful. And they get a third
what-
amp cycle. Oh my goodness.
It's
just
it is art here. And hey, I don't want to discount the Blue Alliance because this is a really, really strong alliance. They're just a little bit outgunned at this point.
yeah.
And 6854 is doing a great job of defense with that ring stuck on them. 865 is, trying to get things loaded up there, but and meanwhile, I only was talking for like 15 seconds, but 2056 just did 2 more cycles.
Sorry, Karthik, finish it. Go ahead.
No, it's just stupendous how quickly they cycle.
Yeah, and I think like big part of the reason why this score deficit is they're obviously like they're cycling like absolute like madmen. They're driving like they're still the 2 robots, right? Makeshift and OP. But also big kudos to 6854 who are forcing these 3 blue robots to take shots that they're not comfortable with. Because most of the teams in first would feel like, we understand it's not a protected zone, but there's 3 faces we can shoot from, so I'm sure we'll be able to line one up quickly and just get rid of the note. But no, it's not that easy, and the further you get away, the narrower the speaker gets, and it's just that much harder.
All right, so we're going to jump ahead to the score here and take a look at it. We can do some analysis and let it play for a second and pause it right here. So like 58 points is a good score by Alliance 3. This is a good score. And if the defense of 6854 definitely knocked that down by like 10 to 15 points or whatever.
Yeah.
That's, remember what we saw Centennial was won with 60, that final match there sort of thing.
60 to 40, yeah.
110. 85 speaker points, folks. This is not the highest score in the world, but it is up there.
It's up there.
The gauntlet is set, folks. And you know what's really cool about Ontario? That every Ontario team likes a challenge. And no one's going to be like, 2056 and Makeshift are just unbeatable. Everyone's going to be like, what do we have to do to get to their level? What practice do we have to do? What do we have to change up? What can we learn from them? And that's what FRC is about. That's what the cool thing about the district system where everyone gets to play twice. You get to iterate, you get to improve. At the same time, I don't think 2056 and 4039 are just going to chill around. Like, hey, 4039 didn't hang during this event. And they were
the
top
climb at the end. Not many robots climbed. They kept shooting, and it was like,
because
that was strategy.
Well, and if you think about it, Leah, it makes sense because a note in the speaker is 3 points and hanging is 3 points. So if your hang's a little bit awkward or whatever, why not just keep cycling? And if you can get an amped cycle at the end of the match,
Oh yeah,
it's gonna outpace it or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to 2056's human player who was just making shots all weekend long. It was just that was wild. But I'm really curious to see what 4039's like in a couple weeks if they work on their auto and get the hang going or whatever. I have no idea what 2056 is going to do next. It's just going to be more of this. And we didn't get to talk about 4152 there. And that trapping machine. It's the best trapping machine in Ontario right now, by far. And they designed around the trap. And if you've designed around the trap, one thing that's really, really important is you're going to be able to control your seating. Because if you're trapping and hanging, you're getting the 8 of the points that you need. You just need another robot to hang. And all of a sudden, you're going to get ranking points. So all of a sudden, 4152 might be the team picking 2056 at the provincial championship.
Absolutely.
If there's so few teams who can trap right now, and it can play a lot of different ways. So that's another team that we should be watching out for. That Newmarket final was amazing. We saw there was 7 alliances that could have gone up against number 1 and played them really well. Shout out to the alliance of 9098 and 2706. Their alliance, they were the first 2 teams on that alliance, rather. 9098 just they were the the little low scoring robot last year. Simple robot again, just fantastic. 2706 keeps going. Shout out to my dear friend Shep, for keeping it real there. I saw Shep during Alliance selection hanging out there, and Shep
hanging
with
out
his
with He's hanging out with the shark, dude.
yeah, shark friend Sharkira is the
Yeah.
name. We met Sharkira at FTC, so it's good to see that the mascots are doing well. Also at Centennial, we had our own mascot, almost like the unofficial First Canada mascot. Bear was there, so
Bear was there.
Bear helped introduce a match. Our game announcer James Spencer refused to speak to Bear. I think he was a little bit shy and nervous because Bear is such a celebrity. So
Yeah.
it's I get a little bit nervous around Bear too, but Bear is really really cool. So it was great seeing all of them. Hey, first off, shout out to our winners of the Newmarket Complex District event between 2056 OP Robotics, 4039 Makeshift, and 6854 Defensive Wonders Viking Robotics. And finalist team 610 Crescent Robotics, 4152 Hoya Robotics, and 865 Warp 7. Praneet, can I get a Hoya?
Hoya.
That's right. Dean's List at this event, Caitlin A from 4940 and Sophia W from 4152. Congratulations to them. Engineering Inspiration to Team 4343, Max Tech, and the Impact Award. I want to leave some time to talk about this, that the Impact Award goes to Team 4039 Makeshift. They have won many Impact Awards in their history. They have to be close to winning at the world level. And I know they have to get to the world level because Ontario is so competitive and nothing's for granted or whatever. But this is a team that just does so much in their community. And they actually made a sensory tent for the quiet rooms for folks who need some extra space in there to go in. And they just do so many things from their can crusher and just the general spirit from the leadership of Matt Alderson down through their mentors like Noah and Angela and Ciprietti, and just every student on the team. Just so kind, so gracious, a shining example of what is good in firsts. I get emotional talking about 4039 because I think they are the model FRC team, and I mean that, and that's just one person's opinion, or whatever. But they just make me. I'm always excited to be at an event with them. So, shout out to all those teams and just. Teams at Newmarket, please don't get discouraged because some of you might be thinking, oh, they just didn't do that well or whatever. But just remember how stacked that event was. It played like a division of the provincial championship. And some of those alliances there, like 4 of those alliances could be similar to alliances we would see in a division at the first championship. So do not get discouraged. I know sometimes playing against great teams can make you feel like, oh, what can we do? But remember how we get better. In the first community, we succeed because we are inspired by excellence. And we don't try and drag people down. We look at the best and say, how can I be better than them? How can I learn from them? How can I grow because of them? And that's what we're all going to do. So I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in. This has been a great show. Thank you to our guests, Leah, Jonah, Praneet. This was fabulous, great analysis. Leah, it's very clear that you were a drive coach this past weekend because you were just like right there with the strategic analysis or whatever. So that was fantastic. Next week, folks, just a reminder, we are back on Thursday, not Tuesday. This will be our first Thursday episode since like the heart of the pandemic when we were in the middle of the day in the mornings. I can't for 3 weeks straight. That was wild. We'll be doing recaps of the Georgian, Durham, and Humber events. Folks, stay safe out there. Hey, just a couple of little reminders. Bring safety glasses to the events, folks. Bring your safety glasses. And not just for you. Make sure your parents have their own safety glasses, sponsors, anyone else who's coming. Let's be safe at events. And also, folks, it's important that we look out for each other in the community. So if anyone on your team, whether it be student, mentor, anything is struggling, let someone know. Or talk to them. And if you're struggling, you're not on your own. And if you have a friend who's struggling, you're not on your own either, because it can be a lot to handle. So please reach out. That's why there are mentors in this program. That's why there are adult volunteers in this program. Reach out to someone. Teachers at your school, guidance counselors are invaluable resources. We want to make sure everyone's doing well. This is a stressful time of year, not just because of first, but because of university acceptances, prom and all those sorts of things. So I'm serious though, Leah. It can be stressful, sometimes like the stress of not having a date is like, oh my goodness, am I gonna, it can be,
Yeah.
it can be, it can be,
It is
it can be a lot. I remember, I'm old. I was in high school a long time ago, but that was like, I started stressing about that in September. Like, what if I can't find a date, and what's everyone gonna say, and what are my parents gonna say, and who am I gonna pose with the photos, and just the stressful stuff, Anyways, we're super off topic here. Take care of each other, folks. Have a good time, and we will see everyone at an event. Hey, where is everyone this weekend? Is anyone at an event this weekend? I'm at Durham. Leah, are you
I'll be
anywhere?
volunteer at Durham.
You volunteer at Durham. I get to see Leah at Durham. Jonah, are you anywhere this weekend?
Spring break, resting.
Spring break, nice. And what about you, Pranty?
I will be head reffing the Georgian College District event, so that should be fun.
Awesome. All right, we'll be texting each other during the event. It's pretty.
yeah.
I just kind of text constantly during, even when we were at the same event beside each other, we're texting each other. It's
Yeah, talking can be difficult sometimes. It's okay.
Yeah. All right, folks. This was a fabulous show. Tune in, turn on notifications. Thank you to our producers. Thanks to everyone who participated in chat. Hey, Paraba, we appreciate all the support, all the comments in there. We will talk to everyone soon. See everyone next Thursday or at an event soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.